ghouls, goblins, goths, vampires, and alternative people. We are back for a new video. As promised, we also had the returning.
Hi.
Apparently, her name is Hi. Okay, guys. So, today I'm going to be asking Zoe some questions on what is goth to her. So, starting with question number 1. What is goth to you?
Goth to me is like an art form. It's very creative. It's very magical. You can go into like fantasy and have your own kind of fashion and your own design. In a way, your own signature outfit or your signature hairdress, or and not only that, there's many different kind of goths out there. So it's like whichever you like is the most you can pick from, but you can also change. So that's what I think.
So that's you kind of already half answered the second question. My second question, by the way, guys, I've got it written down on a tablet over here, so I know what I'm asking, so I'm not just spitballing. Question 2, which you've virtually half answered the first half answered. What interests you about goth?
Well, the art form really, and the fact that you can have your own outfit how you want, and there's no rules about it really. You could always go green or something. Green outfit with black or something. It's quite creative.
Question number 3. Would you consider yourself goth?
No.
No.
I would say that I'm a mixture of all sorts. Some days I'm goth, sometimes I'm pretty little princess, sometimes I'm casual, sometimes I'm punk rock kind of thing. So I never really say that I'm a goth. I'm more of I don't know really what you would call me, a mix. But I do like dressing goth as much as everything else, so it's a bit hard to say what I would call myself.
Yeah, I can understand that. That's my sentiment. I don't, as I said in the previous video, I don't just identify as one thing, and for me, I couldn't identify as one thing. So I get what you're saying. I completely understand that. That makes sense to me. Question 4. There are 6 questions, by the way, guys. We're over halfway through now. Question 4. Do you like the music?
Some music, yeah. Again, I'm in a mix. I like pop, I like techno, I like rock, I like goth music, I like, as people put it, emo music, which I don't believe that you can have emo music when emo music sounds very similar to goth. So, no offense to anybody, but I do like goth music, I like rock music, I like a little bit of everything. So, and I dislike a little bit of everything too.
That goes without saying, doesn't it? We all have likes and dislikes of music. What specifically about goth music, you said you like some of it, do you particularly like? This is a question within a question, guys.
I think I'm going to base it off Nightwish. The one thing I like about Nightwish is the female singer. I like the voice. Sometimes I like the instruments that they play. I'm not much of a guitar fan. I'm more into the violin, harp kind of direction. But when they mix it in with like guitar and the drums and all that, it feels amazing down your eardrums kind of thing. And I do like the drums. I will admit I do like the drums. But yeah, I'd like the voice mainly, especially female voice when they do like an opera kind of thing with the rock. Sean's trying to figure out how to use the tablet because it's mine. So yeah.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. Nightwish aren't. And some people consider them to be in the gothic bracket, but some don't. I personally would, that's fine to me. Like, there is elements of gothic metal within Nightwish. It's, sometimes it's macabre. Like, I Want My Tears Back, for example.
It's difficult to know what's gothic because it's like Linkin Park, let's say. You could have a song that sounds nothing like goth, and then you've got the one where you got the song Numb. It kind of sounds goth.
This borderlines the big question. A lot of people, to use an example, question, are the Smiths goth or not? Even though they're not branded as goth and don't look goth, their music could also be considered more of the macabre gothic aesthetic. But again, this bridges the question with a lot of things. Where do some bands lie? Do you consider them that way or not? It's a big question. It's a good question to ask. So
don't ask me because I don't know. I've not really listened to any of their music.
Which is fine. Music isn't necessarily your gateway into
because
the subculture.
I listen to Katy Perry and Linkin Park and Nightwish. I haven't a lot of
Yeah. Question 5, finally. What was your first experience of goth?
I would say it started around about school time when I met a friend. She was my best friend at the time, Charlotte. And this is when I met him as well. He was a bit of an emo back then. I love how it's not saying anything to that.
I wasn't going for emo back then, but that's how I ended up.
But it kind of fell from my best friend because she used to wear black eyeliner and stuff, and I used to follow that. And then I was like, I quite like the smudgy look and everything, and the dark. My best friend was more punk rock than goth, I think. But I fell into more gothic-y way because I started to fall in love with the, what do you call it? The romance goth, I think it's called. Romantic goth, something like
Romantic goth, yeah.
And I quite like the romantic goth. And then I came into the nature kind of goth where they dress in green and blue. And then I watched a bit of Merlin, and you see Morgana in Merlin, and you're like, wow, and that's when I looked at the fashion and found out the goth space in with that.
Yeah, I'd like to advance on what you've just been saying about punk rock. When we were in the early 2000s, there was a very punkish look about alternative fashion at the time, along with the emo stuff. There was also a punky element to it because pop punk had become obviously a big thing, and Green Day had become a big thing. So even though true punk, real punk, proper punk had not been in favour for quite some time, we did have a resurgence of this like pop punk kind of era that didn't assemble the same kind of thing.
Yeah, I do think as well back then there was a lot of confusion between punk rock and emo.
And nu metal for that matter, because nu metal was a big genre at the time, and that evoked a lot of anger from a lot of people with the fact that it involved rap and metal at the same time, and a lot of people were not happy with that album. I enjoyed it personally, but that's me.
The reason why I say that is because I was confused a little back in school. I wasn't sure what was the difference between goth, emo, punk rock, and any other fashion like that. So I was in the middle of all of them, and because emo became such a big thing, I was falling into that category. But I didn't like the fact that it was based on that. So that put me off from going in that direction at the same time. But it's like I like some of the fashion, but I don't want to go to, you know. It was a very confusing time, I think, and sometimes even now people get confused between emo and all that, because we could walk down the street like this and people say emos, and it was like, okay, whatever, so
Yeah, I wouldn't say youth, because we're still young, guy, still young. We're still living that life. But when we were much younger than what we are now, there was quite an interesting pattern within the alternative community, because goth kind of it wasn't gone. By no means was it gone, but it wasn't something that specifically was major. Well, within at least with us at that stage of our lives. Obviously, the takeover of emo at the time, which to me, emo was just an extension of what goth can be. It's followed the same kind of path of finding cheap elements to put together and, putting together some cool, wacky outfits on a very small budget. So it followed the same kind of thing, but it was definitely a much bigger thing when we were growing up, the emo culture, than it was the goth culture. That's why I also fell into that kind of culture at the time, due to that. So you got a very good valid point there. It was different for us growing up. Of course, obviously, as we've gotten older, goth researched again out in the emo period kind of melted away again somewhat. Not to say that it's disappeared completely, because it hasn't, but it hasn't been as popular as it once was in modern day. So the last question is question 6, final question, and I don't need this to ask it because I know what the question is. What advice would you give to anyone getting into goth now?
have fun with it. That's it. That's all I say, is have fun with it. Be creative, do what you want. But I will recommend that if you're not much for the sexual area of goth, then don't, because you don't have to follow through with every goth thing out there. You can do whatever you want to your preference. If you still like listening to Katy Perry, let's say, don't stop listening to it because you don't want to be goth. Don't want to be pop related in any way because you want to be goth. It doesn't matter. Be what you want. You can be a goth person driving down the road with skulls and everything, playing a bit of, I don't know, step dance or like Lady Gaga. Goth is whatever you want to be, really. It's be dark, spooky, and play Katy Perry.
Yeah, I second that. You can, embrace yourself, embrace who you want to be. But I would urge young people to be cautious when it comes to the whole, what you just mentioned about sexual thing and stuff. It can be sexualized, and it doesn't have to be. It's not necessarily about that. And I as a woman, I think you're better suited to talk about this than me, because it's generally women that get that issue in terms of gothic culture.
Women think that being goth and sexy is to be out there, if you know what I mean. I know I've got a bit out there, but I'm not like showing a lot of it, you know. I've got skirt on that you can't see anything underneath, if you know what I mean. A lot of girls like to show more than that. They like to wear skinny underwear and dongs and small little things to hide them. Yeah, I don't want to go too deep because kids are watching this and things like that. But you don't have to do that to take photos or be a model, you know. Being a model is to express your body and everything, but you don't have to be half naked, in other words, to do that.
Yeah, you absolutely don't, but it's okay if that's what you want to do. On the other hand, if that's wholeheartedly what you want to do, then by all means, like, we aren't going to tell you any otherwise. But my personal advice would be to be safe with what you do, and also be careful too, because sadly there is a populace of men out there that see someone looking like that, a woman in particular, and like, you know that how it goes.
Yeah.
You know, and just be wary of people like that. Like, the few and far between it. You know, it doesn't really happen too often, but yeah, be safe.
Obviously, there's other things as well towards goth that's creepy and freaky, like people like to walk around graveyards dressed as goth, but again, you don't have to do that, or somebody...
But if you do that, sorry to interrupt, be respectful, please.
But the main gist is just have fun, be yourself. If you want to dress all black and still listen to Katy Perry whilst licking a lollipop that's really colourful, go ahead. Because what's goth if you can't have a bit of fun with it?
Yeah. Okay, so I'd like to thank you for joining me on this video today. I'd like to thank you for your input and your opinions and things. Obviously, you know, doing this type of video where I ask questions, I'm not going to be able to do too often. Depends on who I can get to come and ask questions to. But thank you very much for joining me anyway.
No problem.
And
not like I'm here every time.
I know we obviously we have the other channel as well, so please join us on that. I am going to plug that a little bit. We are Infinity Freaks as well, over on YouTube as well. We also have a Facebook page, also Infinity Freaks, which also not very frequently I do post about this channel on there. So thank you for joining us, and hope you've enjoyed this video. Don't forget, like, share, subscribe. Helps me out a bit, helps us out a bit with our other channel. Please subscribe to that channel too, and we shall see. I shall see you in the next one on this channel, at least. I don't know whether Zoe will be in the next one, but we'll see. Bye.
Bye.